Nüüd me lähme edasi ingliskeelse plokiga. Kas teil on vajalik tõlkeaparatuur võetud? Kui ei, siis palun tehke seda seal ees, nagu te nägite, on need tõlkeaparaadid kastis olemas. Jutt tuleb meil ingliskeelne sünkroontõlkega. Ja meil on selles plokis kaks esinejat, kes räägivad sellest, mis puudutab disaini ja mis puudutab turgu, kuivõrd tähtis on mõista, mis toimub täna disainimaailmas, sest kuigi jah, küsitlus näitas, et disain iseenesest suhteliselt vähe on veel nii-öelda päevakorral või ei peeta teda nii oluliseks faktoriks, aga tegelikult ikkagi üha rohkem ta kipub seda olema. Ja teine teema on Saksamaa turg. Saksamaa kui perspektiivne turg, nagu me ka küsitluse tulemustest nägime, Saksamaa kui suur turg, kui juhtiv turg ja ütleme siis niimoodi, et ka igas mõttes mahu ja kvaliteedi mõttes määrav turg. Nüüd esimesena saab sõna härra Leonard Pfeifer, kes on tegelikult rohkem nagu just sellest disainimaailmast, kelle jaoks disain on see nurgakivi ja kes räägib natukene, mis toimub selles maailmas, kuidas tööstust ja töösturi huve disainiga siduda ja võib-olla ka, kuidas neid paremini omavahel kombineerides saavutada nii-öelda läbimurret oma turusegmendis ja toetudes seejuures rahvusvahelisele kogemusele. Nii et veel kord jutt tuleb ingliskeelne. Mr. Leonard Pfeifer, floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming along. I don't speak very often in front of an audience like this, and so I'm thrilled you could all be here. I've enjoyed the past couple of presentations and already learned quite a lot about the industry here in Estonia. Of particular interest were the figures in Peter's talk that showed that obstacles to export were identified as price competition, as well as trouble finding customers or establishing sales networks. But at the same time, the lack of marketing was not mentioned as an impediment to business. And to me, this seems that marketing is the only way to combat issues of price competition and establishing sales networks. And so we'll speak more about this shortly. So I'm a designer. I studied industrial design in Australia, and I've spent 2 decades working in a series of roles within industries, covering the wide range between production, research and development, and design consultancy. In 2003, I founded my studio in East London and now work as a design consultant with furniture producers here in Estonia, in Germany, Romania, Italy, and Japan. I also work directly with furniture retailers in Europe and North America. As I said, I'm very happy to be here to speak with you today about design and how it interfaces with furniture manufacturing. I've titled my talk today, Why Design? And by way of an introduction, I would like to begin by retelling an event that happened last summer. One of the producers I work with had an agent, and I was meeting with this agent for a drink and a catch-up. During the conversation, they mentioned that they were also selling a lot of sofas and that business couldn't be simpler. If they saw a sofa they liked in a magazine, they simply took a picture with their phone and sent it off to a factory where it was copied exactly. Once the photos of the prototype came back, they could approach their own customers who would run a campaign. The agent thought they were being terribly clever, but the lack of insight into the value of design shocked me greatly, and I'd like to tease out these issues today. Of course, in Europe, there are laws protecting intellectual property and mechanisms for enforcing this protection. But the ultimate recourse is legal action through the courts, which can become expensive, messy, and ultimately unrewarding. And although design is an element that's easily stolen, there are strong advantages to integrating the act of design into the development cycle of furniture. And I'd like to look at these further. We'll start by looking at how the methodology of design can bring, we'll start by looking at what the methodology of design will bring to product development. We'll then ask why it as a designer is needed to achieve these goals, and look at the process of working with the designer. And finally, if we have time, I'd like to mention some new technology that's on the way that I think might change, or rather disrupt, our industry for better or worse. So, why design? Although it sounds lofty now, I initially chose design, that is to say industrial design, because of its capacity to make a difference, to make the world a better place. I was drawn both to the immediacy of design, working on products for people, and also because of the scalable nature of design, where a single product might be used by many millions the world over. Take the transformative technologies of the smartphone or global satellite positioning and the coming revolution in photovoltaic solar power generation coupled with battery storage systems. Designers have played a role in all of these revolutions, not in the initial scientific research, nor in the development of that research into discrete parcels of technology, but in putting together the research and development into a product that customers buy and take home to use. There are many definitions of design, but ultimately, it is a method, similar to the scientific method, of thinking, investigating, and planning. At its best, design is also a tool for innovation, but at the same time, I find it hard to define just how design innovates. I think it's because it's a subconscious process involving a wide range of experiences and knowledge. But I think I can show you. And so I'd like to run through several products that I think achieve a level of innovation. Furniture that integrates adaptability or has multiple configurations creates a flexible space open to different uses. These shelves are designed around a hinge mechanism. This maximizes the adaptability of the piece by allowing the unit to pivot into different configurations. When open, the piece forms an expansive shelving system 180 centimeters wide, but the shelves can also fold to 90 degrees and fit into a corner, or fold back on themselves completely for more compact shelving. The minibar was part of my first collection with Woodman, and although essentially a box on legs, the utility and function of the product has elevated it. The minibar is compact and versatile. The box lids open on both sides to reveal generous storage, perfect for bottles and glassware. But the strength of the piece lies in the shelves that are created by the open lid. The minibar can fit next to a sofa and double as a side table, making the piece both practical for everyday use and an essential piece for dinner parties and entertaining. Next is the Farrington desk, which was launched in Paris in 2010 and was awarded the Prix de Nevers as recognition for the innovative compact form. It later received a Design Guild mark in the UK and is currently available across Europe and the United States. The genius of this design is in its proportion. It was conceived for apartments and small spaces, where the desk can sit easily in a hallway or lounge where space is limited. The sliding worktop extends to increase the work area, and it integrates cable management for laptops and phone chargers. Next is the Avon sideboard, which has a single sliding door that conceals half the sideboard at a time, simultaneously revealing either the drawers or the open shelves. With a compact footprint and elegant proportions, the sideboard fits neatly in smaller living spaces, and the cabinet is cable managed for audiovisual and games consoles. These pieces innovate on different levels. In the structure of design, the incorporation of different uses into a single piece, the scale and proportion, also the aesthetics, the look of the products. Now, as a designer, I own the intellectual property for each of these pieces of furniture, and I license this intellectual property to a producer. For this, the producer pays me a small royalty for each item that sells, but in return, they have the exclusive rights to manufacture and market this furniture. And the importance of these exclusive rights cannot be overstated. The producer alone is able to offer these articles that are completely unique and cannot legally be offered by any other company. And this forms the basis of all the marketing activities of the company. And how important are marketing activities? Several years ago, a friend was working for a leading UK brand and mentioned that while the design team numbered 5, there were 13 people in the marketing team. I think this ratio illustrates the essential nature of marketing. There is no point designing, and certainly no point manufacturing, if no one knows about the product to buy it. Marketing is crucial, and so is having exclusive designs to market. I think this ties in with what Peter was saying earlier, where the obstacles to export were seen as price, competition, and trouble finding customers. And I really believe that marketing with the right mix of design can open these doors. The ratio also speaks to the return on investment for design. But in what other ways can working with a designer help in the development process? During development, an experienced designer is questioning processes and looking at ways to value engineer the design, ensuring it matches the production capacities of the producer and reducing production costs where possible, which leads to higher margins. At the same time, design methodology should speed up the development cycle, allowing a producer to stay abreast of market trends. And by creating novel designs that can be exclusively licensed, the designer extends the market of the producer. It allows them to get into new markets. As such, design is an essential mechanism for value adding. So, at its best, design is innovative, fresh, and compelling. It differentiates products, cuts costs in development and production, and gives producers and brands unique and exclusive product, allowing them to stay competitive and relevant in a crowded market. So hopefully I've convinced you of the benefits of design, but where can you get it from? I don't think there are many common elements in the backgrounds of designers that predestine them to be good or even great. But if there were a single attribute I would say helps, perhaps it's perseverance. Good design comes from building experience over a multitude of projects over many years. As I mentioned at the outset, I studied industrial design and then went on to a succession of roles that exposed me to different aspects of the business of design, production, research and development, and ultimately working with a product design consultancy. However, my father was an antique restorer, and furniture has held a gravity over me my entire life. Slowly, it drew me in, and in 2003, I founded my studio. Even then, I continued to freelance for other companies, gaining experience, bringing a multitude of products to market, and refining my own skills and capacities, before I launched my first collection with Woodman from Estonia in Paris in 2007, a full decade after I graduated. And so I say to any design students listening, although it's tempting to start your own studio early, bide your time, look for the roles that will give you the opportunities to learn, and piece by piece put together the full range of skills and experience you will need. Now I work with a host of producers and retail brands across Europe and North America. I've already shown a selection of work produced with Woodman here in Estonia, but I'd like to run through several other projects as well. We've seen already the Avon sideboard, and with it is the Visby vitrine, which launched in the Cologne Fair in January, and are produced by Woodman here in Estonia. The Abbey Wood has been a very popular range across Europe, with a unique mix of colour-blocked doors, and again is produced by Woodman in Estonia. The Ravenscroft desk is a good example of a project that was initiated by a simple conversation with a retail buyer who simply mentioned she was looking for a large cross-leg desk Although the brief was very concise, she had the experience to know exactly what it was she wanted and was able to guide the development of the desk to ensure she got what she was after. Ravenscroft is another Woodman piece. This fun little product is for Müller in Germany. The sheet cabin is constructed of offcuts of plywood left over from the usual production and forms a fun structure for kids on those wet afternoons or long winter nights. Again for Müller, the slope desk leans against a wall. Like many of my designs, it is compact yet highly functional, with cable management and storage integrated into the design. The Atherton table's integral structure is elevated to a playful level of decoration, which lifts the design to an accessibly contemporary level. They are produced in solid European oak by Dorobanti in Romania. Another Dorobanti collection, the Clapham range, has a warmly organic style with the integrated handles and gently curving edges, giving a streamlined contemporary feel. Alamuz is also produced in Romania by Dorobanti and is a contemporary take on the archetypal farmhouse table, structurally strong with modern, beautifully crafted details. This integrated table and chair set is simple and efficient, with curved top rails of the chairs fitting precisely into the curve of the table's rail. The Claremont table and chairs are made from acacia in Vietnam and are available through Crate and Barrel in the United States. The Arco range launched through Italian brand Oliver B and launched in April at this year's Milan Fair. It integrates beautifully proportioned arcing metal legs with a walnut top. And finally, the drum table, which was developed from a lampshade idea and is produced in Vietnam by Moda. The solid elements of oak support the top and create an interesting contrast of light and shadows. For a producer, working with designers should be a positive experience, filled with benefits, as I've outlined already. However, there are also a few obligations, expectations on the designer's part. Because the designer sits at the start of the process, many different issues can arise outside of the control of the designer that can impede the process of a design reaching through development to launch. Some of the most frustrating and ultimately pointless projects I've been involved with have been when, because of a lack of internal systems, producers have not been capable of producing a prototype. Or, once prototyped, sit on them without making any attempt to launch or market the furniture. Several years ago, I licensed my Farrington desk to an Australian brand. After several months, they'd prepared a prototype, but the desk sat in their office, gathering dust. Finally, they reached the time limit in our agreement, and the design reverted back to me. But in the meantime, my hands were tied, and I was unable to look elsewhere for production partners. So it's essential for a producer to know how to launch and market the product, whether it's a hard launch with an event, a trade show or exhibition, a soft launch where select customers are given a sneak peek to prime their interest, or a media launch with press releases and images sent to media outlets. It's critical that the furniture doesn't sit in a warehouse but is exposed to customers. So we've covered why design is important in the development process and what a designer can bring to the table. I'd like to cover now how does a producer work with a designer. Together with a small team in my London studio, I work with producers based around the world. Our process of working is actually really simple and straightforward, but flexible for each producer we work with. Projects always begin with a brief, which can be as simple as a conversation or more thoughtful and in the form of a document. But regardless, it needs to lay out what the end result of the process should be. Important considerations include what market the article will sell into, the function or aspects of the utility of the piece, along with any other particulars of the design that need to be taken into consideration. Now, the brief is a critically important communication stage at the beginning of the process, because it sets the direction for the project and needs to be discussed and understood both internally within the producer and then externally by us, the designers. For new clients, we begin with a phase of research to ensure we understand the market we are designing for before starting to work with ideas. This involves discussions and brainstorming ideas within the team, and then we break away to develop ideas further before meeting again. And this slide shows the large rolls of paper we draw on during brainstorming sessions in the studio. Often we have a short meeting or scrum twice a day to talk over development and ensure ideas are heading in the right direction. The process always starts with sketching pen on paper, but shortly it moves to 3D, solid modelling, so we can play with the details, the proportions, the materials, and further work out the constructional details. And this is the most time-consuming period. We generate many different concepts and models for each idea, systematically thinking through and improving each iteration of the design. Sometimes we create physical models to test proportions and structure. This model was constructed as a one-to-one scale from cardboard to test the proportions of the chair seat and back. But sometimes we work on smaller scales to test the form and visual balance of a design, like with this drinks trolley we are currently developing. Once we have a series of ideas, we create a presentation. This often takes the form of a computer-generated image, but these can be very detailed, down to showing the grain direction of materials, joint details, and the functionality of an item. Perhaps the second most critical phase after the formation of the brief is the feedback and subsequent discussions with the client, which we rely on to ensure we are meeting the objectives of the brief. Ideally, this discussion should be a form of collaboration where ideas are refined and honed. And my most successful designs are with woodmen, exactly because over time we have developed this robust process of collaboration where we're constantly brainstorming, arguing about functions or materials, and ultimately arrive at a refined and fully developed solution. The feedback and guidance further informs development, concentrating more on the production details, fine-tuning proportion, and sourcing hardware. And once we've arrived at a final design, we send to the factory the product drawings, which detail each component in the design. So this is a typical series of drawings where we have an overall assembly, and then each component is detailed exactly for production. It's then over to the factory to prepare a prototype, which serves to identify any issues with the production and with the design itself. Once any last issues have been addressed, the piece is then ready for photography and launch. And at this stage, it's the handover, where the owner shifts from the designer to the producer. As you have discussed already, channels to a market, to a sales network, are essential for the success of any product. You've got to be able to sell the furniture you produce. I'd like to add that although the process I outlined above can move quickly and without too much complication, designers are not seers and cannot look into the future. I was once given a brief to design a bestseller, which was to completely misunderstand the role of the designer. We aren't supernatural. But through a rigorous design process and with collaboration with a producer, well-resolved, novel and commercially viable furniture is a likely outcome. So we've discussed why design is important to a furniture manufacturer, what skills and experience a designer can bring to a producer, and how the process might work. And although there are always impediments to bringing a product to market, the process really can be straightforward. At the start of the talk, I mentioned the agent who sent photos of designs to a factory to have them copied one-to-one. And I can only wish they saw the inherent value in the design process. Working with designers may not be as hard as it seems, and the benefits are there for all to see. I'd like to finish up taking a moment just to mention several new technologies I've seen recently that I think might have an effect on our industries. One of these is augmented reality viewing applications on tablets. I'm not sure if many of you have seen this. It allows a customer to select a piece of furniture, customize it, and then in real time, holding up a tablet to the room, superimpose the furniture into the room to see how it looks. They can then change the size, the color, materials, and aspects of the design to customize the piece to fit their requirements completely. This slide was taken from Tyco, I think, from Poland, and they launched 2 weeks ago at the London Design Festival. There's similar technology already in store at John Lewis in London, where customers can scroll through a pre-digitized library of chairs, changing the model and color, and superimposing them around tables on the showroom floor. And the Tyco application was really quite impressive. The customer literally configured the article they wanted to see, the size, the width, the style of the legs, and then as they held it up to a room, it was just there in the corner. And as they moved around, you could literally walk around the piece in a virtual sense. Tilco also has an impressive customization tool on their website, which allows customers to select and change all the parameters of tables and shelving systems to suit their requirements exactly. This is similar to the parametric system used by Scandinavian brand Hem, once Fab.com, who developed a similar system for customizing shelving and library systems. And just in a couple of slides, I hope to show simply by moving the sliders up there, you can make the table longer, wider, change the style of the legs, and change a lot of the aspects of the design. So the twin technologies of augmented reality and parametric customization will in time establish a customer expectation of increased interaction and participation in the configuring of their own furniture and of products in general, I assume. Designers and producers alike will be called on to develop systems to allow this increased level of interaction. So it's been a pleasure to come to Thailand to speak with you all today. I would like to thank you for your attention and hope that my words might help to build a bridge between designers and producers, that you might find each other, create some great designs, and take Estonian furniture manufacturing out into Europe and the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. A couple of questions, if you allow me. One question is related directly to the technology issue. You already showed at the end of your presentation the usage of tools, computerization and everything. Mm-hmm. The new trend and rapidly developing one is related to the 3D and 3D, not in sense of just design, but printing.
Rapid prototyping, yeah.
Yeah. Execution, at least for prototypes.
Yep.
Are you working with it? Are you thinking about it? How it looks in the world?
At every show we go to, they always have a new technology section where they have a lot of 3D prototyping technologies. A lot of these seem quite rudimentary at the moment and really just for small scale, but they are getting bigger. There are people experimenting with 3D printing houses.
So they are much bigger than any furniture is.
Absolutely. The materials need to catch up a long way. At the moment, if you want a small nylon or plastic model, maybe a small metal model, it's possible. But to go up to a material that has structural integrity on a scale of furniture, I think they're still a way off. But it's also a technology that is coming. It's not quite exactly 3D rapid prototyping, but there's a company in London that has an interesting business model where on site they have a CNC router, and so they bring in a single material, plywood, birch plywood, and they have files of 50 different pieces of furniture, and it's made on site to customers' orders.
Okay.
And so I think this sort of model can actually be something that 3D prototyping can catch up with as well, where you have the printer on site and anything you want can be printed on this.
So it's definitely the future, which slightly takes time, but it's visible already.
I think it's a long way out there, yeah. But it will disrupt a lot of logistics and delivery systems and production, for sure.
Okay. Second question is related to your extensive experience with different kind of partnerships in different parts of the world, and obviously there are some slight differences between these parts. Meaning, do you have any good advice for Estonian producers how to manage with these differences with your experience related to design, to the execution of production, maybe culture of this collaboration? Maybe
sure.
few ideas.
Yeah. I'm not sure the differences are that great in actually what a producer does. The joints are the same, the materials are very similar, the finishes are similar. So there's a lot that is the same. What I do find though, working with North American retailers, is the lead time that they're working. We're already working on the spring launch for 2017, which is a long way out. So there's a lot more planning, a lot more organising, and a lot more developing to get the very best price, I think. So in price-sensitive markets like North America, they're planning further ahead and developing a lot more strongly.
But at the same time, you've shown also some pieces you've made in Vietnam.
Sure.
And the Asian market as such is a thing not very much covered so far by Estonian sector, but generally it's appetite thing and it's growing market, most dynamic market overall at all around the world, and there are some differences there. Is it wise to go there?
To my way of thinking, there's and I think your previous speakers have outlined this. Actually, at the moment, your major markets are Finland and Sweden,
yeah.
And that's 2 of the 28 countries in the European Union. There's a lot of development that could happen a bit more closer to home. The problem with producers from Estonia going to Asia, and it's the problem with producers around the Pacific Rim, is that there's China and Vietnam and these other places of low-cost production, and they can just steal your designs.
That's was a hidden part of my question,
right.
Actually, because sooner or later they will do it.
And they will. And within Europe, you have a recourse to protection. Outside of Europe, it gets a lot muddier. And I think there's actually a tremendous growth potential within Europe. So I think look more regionally than the other side of the planet.
Okay, and last question would be about, you probably noticed previously that the structure of the production sector here is very much towards the small size companies,
yeah.
up to 5 workers.
Yeah.
And these companies have certainly more limits for design, in a sense.
Sure.
So what would be your advice in this case? You have your own experience with Estonian producers, with Woodman you've mentioned particularly, and you see how these bigger guys can work, but what you would suggest for smaller guys?
I think the same as I suggested for the big guys. Start working with designers. We rarely charge an upfront design fee. Usually we work on a royalty basis, yeah. Which means that there's almost no risk to the producer. We do the design, they make a prototype, and then launch it. And so the risks, they're just not there. It's a small investment in time, but then once the product starts selling, the royalty pays for the design. And so this is a good way for producers to work, it also gives
Yeah.
the designer advantage if something really catches and sells. Yeah, so I think there's no reason for smaller companies as well to seek designers and to start. And I think it's also important to note that it's not realistic to expect a bestseller on your first attempt. You know, it's a relationship that needs to develop.
Yeah,
You need to put time and energy into it, but it can bear dividend.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.